Hey guys, welcome back and welcome if this is your first time here. Today I'm going to be tapping into the Aquarius energy. I am going to start the first half of this video with a personal story. It's kind of my recovery story, um, which Aquarius is kind of a big part of this, that energy. So that's why I'm including it with your video and your reading. Um, but if you want to skip ahead to the tarot, I will provide a timestamp in the description box below. So I'll be posting this in the morning, so May 3rd, 2024. That'll be a year clean for me from various things that I was using. I'm going to not be very specific, just because of the YouTube. Um, guidelines or whatever. I don't want to flag anything, so I'm not going to get too specific, but I do want to share what has helped me. I didn't think I would actually be able to do this like years ago. Um, so I just wanted to share my experience and hopefully it can help you or anyone who watches this if they're struggling with any kind of substance abuse or even mental health or any type of addiction of any kind. Hopefully, this can help. Um, so my North Node is actually in Aquarius, which is like your life purpose, what you're like meant to do here while you're here, what energy you're supposed to become more like. Aquarian energy is very humanitarian, forward thinking, um, helps a lot of people. So I resonate pretty strongly with that. I haven't really been in a place to be able to do that because of previous addictions and stuff. I was never really, or I was at points in my life, but I just haven't been able to be living my authentic life to get to a place where I can actually have a positive effect on the world like I would like to. Um, Obviously, I'm getting there closer nowadays, through these efforts. So, yeah, it was an Aquarian who really instilled the motivation for me to get clean and um, stick to it. I don't think I would have been able to do it without that motivation from that person. Um, so yeah. So yeah, I'm just gonna go over kind of how I did it. The last time I had anything was May 3rd, 2023, 11:11 p.m. was the last time I did anything. Um, so I'm a big advocate for harm reduction. That's kind of the stance that a lot of treatment facilities are going with now, because the old model just wasn't working. They would get kicked out for using, and then that just wasn't working. It was leading to problems. So they began to adopt the harm reduction policy, which really makes sense. I mean, we're all human. We all make mistakes, and just because we make mistakes doesn't mean that we don't deserve help still. So, um, so at the beginning, the big thing that was hard for me to quit was SIGs. Um, But at the beginning, I did the 0% vaporizers, if that makes sense. And that just kind of replaced the physical habit in itself. That really helped me at first. After a couple months, I stopped that altogether because it just felt pointless. Um, and I just kind of just went completely without it at that point. Um, Also, suckers were really helpful. I I'm a big advocate for healthy alternatives to like candy. That's one of the things I'm going to bring up. But these ones are really good. They're Yum Earth. It's certified organic candies. They don't use any artificial dyes or anything like that. Um, so I use that too. I don't really have it very much anymore. I've gotten to the point where I just don't need anything like that. I'm able to live without any kind of vice like that. Um, yeah, so um, also in the beginning, um, I kind of isolated a lot, and I think that's okay. That's probably not the best solution for most people because they say like the opposite of addiction is connection, and that's so true. And like with the like AA and NA, um, or even self-help or anything like that, like that can be really great for some people, and it's a great resource. And if that works for you, then that's awesome. You should totally do that. Um, because it provides a community for you to connect with like-minded people, people that have been through similar experiences. It can be a really helpful place to just really start connecting again. Um, because when we kind of get stuck in addictions, we're usually so focused on ourselves that um, it just feeds into the addiction. Um, But for me, I was in a toxic environment, very much so. The house I lived at, I was surrounded by people in active addictions of different kinds. Um, so I kind of had to isolate just because I didn't really have any buddy around there that I could connect with. And that's honestly been fine for me. Um, I tried readings in the past, and a lot of times it would just make me like fiend or whatever even more. And then a lot of the times there were people that just weren't taking it seriously at all, and it was really frustrating. I was doing like the online stuff because of COVID and whatnot. So that was probably part of it too. But if you are going to do it, I definitely recommend going in person. Any kind of thing like that where you can go in person is good. Even like church or whatever. I know a lot of people turn to religion after quitting addictions, which again, I think is all about like that community and feeling accepted and whatnot. And again, if that works for you, then that's awesome. Um, so yeah, I really just kind of kept to myself and watched a lot of anime, filled my time with that. I also started working shortly after I had quit, which worked really well for me because I started doing two landscaping jobs. Both were basically full time. Um, so getting outside and being active, getting in the sun, that's just really good and just filled my time. So that was really helpful. I might end up editing this video a little more, but I got a lot of notes that I'm gonna try to cover. Just stuff I want to touch on. I can be pretty scatterbrained in my style of thinking, so if I'm all over the place, I apologize. Um, but I'm going off this list hoping to cover everything that I wanted to. I've been thinking about this for a few months now, about doing something like this. I'm sure I'll probably miss something still, but hopefully I'll cover most of what I wanted to. Um, So yeah, in the process of this last year, one of the big themes has been just like connecting and loving myself again, connecting with myself again, because I carried a lot of guilt and shame with the addictions and the actions that I did during those addictions. I think that's pretty normal, and it is a barrier for a lot of people to um, find recovery, is carrying around that shit, carrying around that shame and guilt. Um, so I think addressing that is really important. I actually started EMDR, I think like almost 2 months ago now, which that has been really helpful. Um, I think it's important to get any kind of therapy, um, just addressing mental health and getting to like the root of the reason why you were um, addicted to whatever it was. Usually, addictions are coping mechanisms to help us kind of avoid any internal feelings that we are trying not to deal with, we don't want to confront. So I ended up moving in October to a much more stable environment, much more pleasant, respectful environment. Um, so that helped a lot. I was surrounded by people that I could actually be around and be myself around, and it wasn't a toxic environment at all. I'm still here and it's great. So a lot of times we have to change our um, place of residence when we quit addictions, um, just because once you go down that road, you tend to be surrounded by it, and a lot of times you have to pull yourself out of that environment to actually see progress or make change. At least from my experience, that's been the case. Um, at least for the beginning time. I think you probably don't ever really want to go back to those previous environments, but I think once you get some clean time, you can handle being around it a lot more without it triggering or affecting you. So yeah, just limiting exposure to people with previous addictions is a great idea, which is another reason why I went into solitude a lot. Um, I am able to be around some people around it or with it. Um, yeah, but without it affecting me at this point, which is nice. Up until about a month or two ago, I would still be triggered by like the smell of somebody doing that. Um, but now it just smells like an ashtray and it's just not um, appealing to me. So I think that addict mind kind of still wanted to, or still played with the idea of eventually going back to it. I had these like requirements for myself um, for not being able to for X amount of time, which originally was a year. That was my goal, and I felt like I set that goal because Um, I just felt like once I got to a year, it would be a lot easier to extend that time and just not even want to go back to it at that point, which is where my mind's at now. I at least want to go till next year, and like I don't even want to go back to any of it really. Um, Learning to live without it has been great. Um, One of the things too I've kind of come to see is the idea of radical acceptance. Realizing that in most cases, you're not ever going to feel exactly like you did in the past, like those highs or whatever. I know I had this idea in my head that, like, if I quit everything, I would go back to like how I felt when I was 18 or 19, which is just not realistic. Like I'm in my 30s now. Like my dopamine levels and whatnot are not going to be the same as they were when I was that age and I was able to naturally be motivated. But the other thing too is I notice that when I work on things that I am passionate about, I naturally get more dopamine doing those things. So finding any kind of hobby or thing that you're just really passionate and interested in is a great idea to kind of combat the lower levels of dopamine or serotonin or whatever um, chemical imbalances going on due to the addictions or previous addictions. Um, so being health conscious has been really helpful for me as well. I went vegan a little over a year ago. I'm pretty strict with the diet now. I think it's really good. I'm not one to tell anyone what to do. I'm like a live and let live type of person. At least I try to be. Um, but I know for me, being vegan has been great because it's helped my energy levels a lot. I have way more energy in general. Um, and then I feel better about what I'm eating, like from an ethical standpoint. Um, And then cutting out like sugars, artificial sugars, like no soda or anything like that, candies with dyes, artificial dyes. I definitely don't have any of that. If you want to look into anything like Red 40 or Blue One, you can like look into the effects of that. But I know Red 40 specifically is a big one that can cause like ADHD symptoms in people. So maybe thinking about cutting out stuff like that could be really helpful. Also, like during addiction, I did not really eat that well. That wasn't like a concern of mine. Like that was like a secondary thing. It just kind of did it when I had to or whatever. Um, and I wasn't being conscious about what I was eating. But when you get clean, you kind of have to eat because that's where you're getting like the most of like your vitamins and whatnot. Versus like when you're in addiction, your body kind of learns to survive off of whatever it is that you were addicted to. So once you cut that out, you kind of have to eat, and that's what you're getting all your happy chemicals from. Um, I mean, obviously, like meditation and stuff too, like helps, but um, yeah. I was introduced to supplements like a year and a half ago. I became pretty knowledgeable because of someone important in my life, really kind of pointed me in the right direction. I was going to share a few things that are helpful for me, and hopefully they can help you if that's what you want to do. Um, I know multivitamins are really good, um, especially early stages because we tend to be lacking in certain vitamins, and unless you have like a well-rounded diet, it can be difficult to get all the vitamins that you need. So having a good multivitamin can be a good idea. What I take is the Garden of Life Men's Multi 40 Plus. It says serving size is two, but I just take one. So it's like a 2 month supply then, which is nice. But I don't take that every day. I just kind of take it. It's supposed to be a supplement, like you just take it in between like times that you are getting your vitamins through natural means. So it's just meant to like kind of hold you over. So I take it probably every few days. Um, just kind of when I remember, honestly. Um, and then another big thing I am an advocate for is probiotics. They can be really helpful. Garden of Life is a big brand that I use a lot of their products. Um, so I like this one a lot. Sorry for the glare, but yeah, it's the Mood Plus probiotics. It has ashwagandha in it too, um, which can help with your mood. That can also help with like anxiety and stuff too. So it's the same thing with this one. Serving size is 2 capsules, but I just take one whenever I take it, so it lasts twice as long. Um, and then this is probably like one of the vices for me, honestly. Maybe overeating. It's something that not necessarily overeating, but eating a lot and then like going to take a nap, because like who doesn't love like a food coma nap or whatever, but I feel like I do that too much sometimes for sure. But if you are going to do that, generally you shouldn't eat anything heavy before going to sleep. If you are going to eat, I'd recommend like fruit and yogurt, something light. But if you do end up eating a heavy meal and you pass out, or just in general, if you eat a heavy meal, um, chewable enzymes can be really good. So these are the ones I take. So I would recommend that too, just to have. Um, and then a good um, omega-3 supplement. I know hemp seed is a good source for that. Um, or fish oil if you're not vegan. This is what I take. It's a vegan version. Um, but that can be really good for brain health as well. And then I take turmeric. Um, I wouldn't really, isn't like a brand I would recommend or anything, but just any real turmeric supplement would be good. I take it a few times a day. It's supposed to help with like blood flow and stuff like that, which I struggled with because of past problems. But um, and then the other thing I really like is the adrenal balance. Um, this has a lot of different things. It's got vitamins and then Schisandra, rhodiola, ashwagandha, ginseng, and then some probiotics. So this is just like a really good thing to take for your adrenals every now and then. But it's Garden of Life again. I'm not sponsored or anything by any of these. I just am sharing, hoping that maybe this can help someone. Um, and then for ADHD or dopamine deficiencies, I used to take this a lot more. I very rarely do at this point. Um, but L-tyrosine is a great supplement that you can take. It's usually 500 milligram capsules, but you can also take natural, um, or you can find it in natural sources, which is what I prefer now. Usually avocados or dark chocolate. I'm big on dark chocolate. That's like my one vice that I love. But yeah, that can be a good source of dopamine if you struggle with that. If you don't want to take any medications or anything, that's the route I'm trying to go, or I've been doing for the last year, and I want to continue. Um, so L-tyrosine can be a great supplement for that, from my experience. And then methylated vitamins can be really good because it kind of helps you skip a process that your body has to do to be able to absorb different vitamins. So B, C, and D are ones that I take. Um, I usually take the Garden of Life spray tinctures. I just don't have any right now, but this is one I tried to recently. which I liked. But it's a methylated B12 and it has folate in it as well. So yeah, those are different supplements and vitamins that I take every now and then that I have found helpful. Um, Also, just making sure you're staying hydrated. Like that's such a simple thing, but it was something I overlooked a lot in the past. But that can really make a big difference as well. So also just the idea that, or with like living health conscious and trying to eat healthy, it's not about perfection. It's about doing the best that you can. I try to eat organic whenever I can, but it's not always financially feasible, and you can't always find organic stuff. Um, so yeah, just doing the best you can. You don't have to be perfect, obviously, but just don't get too hung up on, oh, it's not organic. I've had that experience in the past, so just being patient, forgiving with yourself. I also budget money for groceries at this point. I never used to when I was in active addiction. Um, it was just kind of a side note, but now I actually budget like 400 a month for that, which I think is an important thing to do when in recovery or just in general. But um, and then yeah, with recovery, the big things that are great about it is the stability and consistency that you are able to get to. Um, Once you aren't controlled by these external things. Um, when I was in addiction, anyone that's in addiction, usually it's a very chaotic thing. It's just like chaos and constantly feeling like you're on the verge of collapse. Um, I know that was something I honestly still struggled with, just that kind of anxiety or feeling like everything's going to fall apart. That fight or flight type of mentality that comes with addiction. I know I struggled with that still, even after getting clean. Up until I really started the EMDR is when I really started to notice that going away. It's been a slow process, but I used to like get like jolts of just like anxiety or whatever. Um, but now I don't get that anymore, which is nice. Like obviously I still have things I am anxious about day-to-day stuff. Um, just, worries in life, things happen. Um, but it's not anything that's debilitating for me at this point. So really getting to the root of what's going on will be helpful for sure. They say in like AA and stuff that the first year you're getting clean, you shouldn't be in any romantic relationships. Um, which I can see why they say that, because it can almost like replace a habit in a way. It can become like an addiction in itself. So I've done that myself. I did see someone for like maybe a month or something, but I talked with them and realized I wasn't ready for it because of my own reasons. So we came to an understanding that um, I just needed to focus on myself. So that's what I'm doing at this point, and I'm going to continue doing that. Um, I think putting yourself first is really important. Um, and getting to where you can take care of yourself and love yourself is really important before getting into a relationship. Um, so I know I struggled with codependency um, in the past, and there's a saying with this that I really like. Um, it's the idea of like some like a codependent way of being in a relationship is I'll take care of you if you take care of me, but really how it should be is I'll take care of me for you if you take care of you for me. It's the idea of filling your own cup first and then sharing the excess. And that really just creates abundance for both of you. You're not like supporting the other. I mean, obviously, you can help support at times, but they're not like needing that to survive, essentially. Um, so, yeah, and then just getting priorities straight, what you really want to do in life. Um, that has been helpful for me. And then this is something I actually thought about like a month ago, once I like really understood what the temperance card was all about. I know it is balance, but I didn't realize that it is actually um, your inner values matching your external actions, which can kind of be like a mind-heart coherence type of thing as well. Um, but that's something that is commonly, or that is common in addiction, is your internal values not matching your external actions. I know I definitely had that happen a lot when I was in addiction, and it caused me a lot of grief and heartache and upset um, that my external actions weren't matching my internal values. Um, so that's just something to be mindful of, even when you're not in addiction. Um, it'll bring you a lot of peace when you are able to match your external actions with your internal values. So just being mindful of that as you go throughout life is important if you want to achieve like peace of mind and stability. Also, everyone is different. I was gonna say that. So things that may have worked for me might not work for you. My opinions might not be your opinions, and that's okay. It's just about finding what works for you. Um, and then finding a support group or just trusted people around you is super important. Some of the stuff might be repetitive. I'm just trying to make sure I cover everything, and hopefully I don't go too long with this video. Um, but and then finding a bigger purpose can be really helpful. I know a lot of times when you're in addiction, it's because you're not living your purpose, um, or not having purpose can lead to that. So trying to find that can be helpful. Um, I like astrology a lot because it can help guide you, and it can help you kind of find a identity in a sense, which can be a good starting point. But maybe looking at your North Node, if you're struggling on what you think you should do, maybe look at that and see what that says and see if you resonate with that at all. Um, that might help you find some clarity, but really tapping into your own intuition, maybe meditating on stuff. I think generally we know what we really want to do. It's just the how of things that can hold us back. So this is another thing I've been um, big on over the last few months, especially. Um, but the idea of intimacy in relationships and what that requires. Um, building intimacy in relationships requires transparency and having those tough conversations, even when you don't want to, um, and having them with yourself, being real with yourself. It's better to have those tough conversations right away than to let them linger inside of you and build tension or just negative um, stuff. It can build resentment towards yourself, even for not bringing them up when you should have in the first place. So, really living transparent is important in intimate relationships. Um, when you're not doing so, you're just living a lie essentially. Um, but yeah. So I think I may have brought this up already, but the idea of radical acceptance. Um, yeah, I did bring that up already. But just realizing some things are outside of your control and just accepting that is important. So one of the things I do a lot, I think I did this in early recovery a lot, kind of had to, but I still do it. I don't really feel the need to anymore, but or most of the time, but it is just kind of a habit. I think it comes from being big into meditation before, which I still am super interested. I just don't do it like I should or like I want to. Same with yoga, which yoga can be really helpful too, especially in early recovery. But yeah, I just sit with my emotions. So if I'm triggered, they call it urge surfing. Um, if you have the urge to relapse or anything like that, it's just kind of sitting with that feeling. I know I do that when I'm triggered or whatever, when I'm feeling angry or just upset or whatever it is. I tend to just try to sit with it and realize that this too shall pass. Um, but it's like any muscle, it gets easier the more you do it. Your brain's a muscle, so any type of repeated action will get easier the more you do it. Um, Also, that kind of combats the addictive mindset of like need, lack, or needing to have something now. When you just kind of sit with things and let it ride out, you're combating that addictive mindset, which is why I try to do that as well. I feel like it's really helpful in recovery. So as time passes, it gets easier to see the big picture. Um, when you're in addiction, active addiction, the main part of your brain that is activated a lot because you're stuck in fight or flight is your amygdala, which is like your reptilian brain. Um, but as you get some clean time, you are able to use your neocortex more, which is like big picture thinking. You're able to do think about a lot of different things at once versus the singular focus that comes with the amygdala or reptilian brain. Um, so you can really gain a lot of perspective as you get some time under your belt. Um, yeah. And then, yeah, just finding what works for you, which I kind of said that already. Um, I think it's important to take responsibility um, for things in life because it empowers yourself. This is like one of my gripes with, not that I'm hating on anything, but just one of the things that didn't resonate with me with NA was just the idea of having to admit that you're powerless to whatever it is. I think that takes the power away from yourself um, and kind of makes it able for you to avoid taking responsibility, which I'm just not a fan of that. I don't think it's really helpful in the long run. I think it can be helpful at first, but in the long run, I think it's more helpful to empower yourself by taking responsibility and realizing that you have the power to overcome anything. I'm big on what we believe shapes our reality. So learning attachment theory can be really helpful too, and just navigating your relationships. Relationships are super important in life, and they can be strained a lot during addiction, so they don't become as much of a focus. So, or they're not as much of a focus as they should be, just because you're so self-absorbed with just trying to feel good, really, or just trying to be okay. Um, but attachment theory can be really good to know. I know I struggled with the anxious attachment style, which explained a lot. Um, And then once you learn about these attachment styles, it can provide a way for you to learn how to develop healthy attachment styles. So it's just something to look into that I would recommend. Um, and then if you have any questions for me, um, just leave a comment in the comment section and then I'll definitely get back to you. This is definitely kind of a passion of mine. It's just helping people. From my own experiences, I feel like I've been through a lot in my life for a reason, um, and that's to help people hopefully provide some kind of light for others. Um, I study mainly Western astrology. That's what I'm most comfortable or most familiar with, but I know in Vedic astrology, um, my soul planet is Jupiter, which I didn't like at first because it basically says that I'm gonna deal with a lot of suffering in this lifetime, which really I did resonate with because I've dealt with a lot of that, but I don't want to be um, doomed to that for the rest of my life. But I think Dharma starts to happen once you start living your truth, and that was part of what it said is that once I start living my truth and living transparent and authentically and helping others that um, the suffering will lessen and I can help a lot of people lessen suffering in their lives. So that's kind of my goal in life too, is to help others not have to suffer through some of the things that I've had to. So I did kind of say this already, but I would recommend if you aren't in a recovery program, if you're trying to um, start recovery, that getting into like an inpatient route or an outpatient program is a great idea. Something that you can address your mental health, that's super important. Um, Getting therapy is definitely very, very helpful in my experience. And then finding ways to keep yourself accountable is super important. Ways I was able to do that was testing through my outpatient program. I got drug tested up until like a couple weeks ago because they can't do it anymore because I don't have like a valid enough reason for them to, um, because really I was only getting tested to kind of prove it to someone else that I was staying clean. And they said that wasn't reason enough to um, pay for the insurance or the doctor to do it. Um, it was like my therapist was telling me about it, but there was doctors doing like 3,000 toxes like a month or something. It was just ridiculous. So they have to be a little more strict about it. But anyways, finding ways to keep yourself accountable is important. Um, Also, before I started working my jobs, I quit my addiction. So in a way that keeps me accountable because I know if I were to go back to it, I would get a lot of crap from them and it just would look bad. I've already kind of built this reputation of being like health conscious and living healthy and not doing all this stuff. And um, I think that just kind of helps me stay accountable because I want to keep in good standings at my work and with um, friends and associates. But having someone that can like check your testing too, if you do decide to go the tox route, um, that can be helpful. Is having someone kind of keep you accountable that way. So another thing I was going to bring up is just animals are great, especially in the beginning stages when you don't have a lot of connections going on. They can be really helpful because they'll love you no matter what. They just want to love you. So having a dog or a cat or something like that can be really helpful. Um, and then finding ways to express yourself, which has kind of been my goal with this whole, or one of my goals, is to kind of get me out of my comfort zone and find ways to express myself by doing this YouTube thing, um, and tarot reading. Um, I know I'm shy kind of in general and soft-spoken, so this is kind of pushing me to get out of that comfort zone. And plus, I've kind of continued the isolation or whatever for the most part, which is fine, honestly. I think everyone is different. I'm very much introverted. I'm just really selective about the people I want to have in my life at this point. Um, Quality over quantity is important, you know. Doesn't matter how many friends you have. I used to look at it as such a bad thing that I didn't have like all these friends and whatnot. But it's all perspective. I do have some close relationships, like my roommate now and coworkers and stuff, and it can be hard to get out there when you're not putting yourself out there, which I haven't been, which I just don't feel the need to at this point. But I would like to get out and do like yoga classes and whatnot, but my time's just been filled up with work and whatnot. But and then the last thing I was going to bring up is just exercise is really good. Making sure you're doing that. Um, it combats depression. One of the main things that can cause depression is the lack of movement, um, the lack of physical effort. If you're just like laying in bed all day, it's just going to make your depression worse. So, making sure that you're pushing yourself to get out will help a lot. Um, I know that's something even struggle with now is the initial like starting something can be a challenge. But once you do it, it's like it builds momentum and it could be really helpful. Um, so yeah, that's what I have. Hopefully, this helps somebody and hopefully my story can just help someone in some way. That would be great. Thanks for listening, guys. I'm gonna get into the Aquarius reading next. So, thanks. Hey, Aquarius. Gonna get into your reading. I'm gonna start with the energy check-in. I haven't. I'm not really going to include your astrology for this reading. I haven't really been looking at the Aquarius's astrology. Um, just out of respect of trying to respect someone's energetic privacy. Um, yeah. But I know that Aquarius or Pluto is in Aquarius and that we are in the age of Aquarius and that it is a big deal. It's the age of information, a lot of change coming. Aquarian energy is really awesome. Um, I always think of the Outcast album, I think, of Aquarius, Gemini, because I'm a Gemini, and or that's my sun and moon and Mercury. Um, but every Aquarius I've ever met, I've had a strong affinity with. My sister's an Aquarius, my therapist is Aquarius, someone very important to me is an Aquarius. Um, so yeah, it's just it's an energy I really like a lot. So, all right. So, where is Aquarius currently at? Spirit, what is going on with Aquarius? Two more shuffles. Also, let me know if you like me including astrology at the beginning. I'm kind of thinking that after I get through this first round of the zodiacs, that I might stop including the astrology at the beginning. I feel like it kind of can take away from me picking up on whatever energy I need to pick up on. I feel like it kind of adds its own thing, which at times I feel like can be helpful, but it's just something I've been thinking over. So let me know what you think in the comments if you like that or not, or what you would like to see going forward. So in your mind space, you could have been working on something for a while now, and you're beginning to see the fruits of that effort. I feel like it has something to do with balancing, like a give and take in a relationship. Um, Maybe balancing your internal world. This is kind of what I was saying in my the last part of the video of with the Temperance card, because it's interesting that the Temperance card actually came up uh, in this because I was talking about that. But I feel like you could be working on matching your external actions with your internal values, and that this is leading to wealth for you. You got a lot of Pentacle energy going on. You got the Queen of Pentacles, which is very internal. Queens are internal versus kings are more external. So you could have a lot of internal wealth accumulating. Um, and then you could be in the future, you could have some kind of awakening coming up or coming into touch with your higher self. You could be studying some kind of could be spiritual path, some kind of spiritual path. Could be religion, could be esoteric stuff, could be laws of the universe. I'm a big advocate for that. Um, but yeah, just some kind of spiritual practice. Also, you have Taurus energy coming up in the future, which you could be getting more comfortable in the future and more stable and settled as you are accumulating this wealth by beginning to have that mind heart coherence by matching your actions with your values. So, what is an outside influence for Aquarius right now? Spirit. Got the Judgment card. So this could be a change in position. Um, Somebody could be having a change of position in your life. Somebody could be going through an awakening. Um, Somebody could almost be like rising from the dead in a sense. They could have been um, very much dead in their ways or hidden from you. Um, but they could be coming into your light or your field of awareness. Uh, which that could be good or bad depending on the situation for you. Just take it how it resonates. I'm sure you already have the answer to that. Um, so, Spirit, what is a challenge that Aquarius may be dealing with? So, it's a Page of Pentacles. So, it's like the start or birth of this, um, of building this wealth. So, I would say starting to match your external actions with your internal values could be somewhat of a challenge for you. Um, but it's going to be rewarding for sure. I think that can be challenging because I mean, anything gets easier with time, but if you struggled with it in the past, um, or just in general, sometimes it can be challenging because you don't always get to think like of every angle before you do something. Like hindsight is 2020. Um, so it just might be somewhat difficult for you to begin to build this coherence. But you got the sun energy at the bottom of the deck, which is something that you're currently working through, which is illumination of your internal values and really come to clarity of what those are. Um, and you probably begin to have some clarity about what um, actions you need to take going forward to begin to build that coherence. So, Spirit, what is an opportunity for Aquarius at this time or coming up? It's gonna take the top card. A few flipped over, but uh, got the moon, which is all about digging into your subconscious. Okay, yeah, three others fell out. We got the Empress, the Star, and the King of Pentacles, which the Star is your energy. Um, so again, like this, building this wealth, um, and bringing this internal wealth into your outer world, beginning to make some action with it. And then just, of course, being kind to yourself with that Empress energy and holding hope. So you got a lot of opportunity. But I would say digging into your subconscious and looking at your dreams is also an opportunity. I've always been super fascinated by dreams or really interested in it. I actually lucid dreamed out of nowhere like a week ago. It was pretty cool. I was happy about it because it's something I haven't done in a while. Uh, but I don't really remember what happened. I just knew I was dreaming, and then I was like, oh, I don't want to mess this up, so I don't want to do anything too crazy. So I remember I did some stuff, but it was nothing like too out there. So uh, yeah, just have some fun with um, your dreamscapes and your subconscious mind. Kind of begin to explore that. Maybe you could find. or reach some kind of conclusions of what you do value internally by looking at what your subconscious is telling you in your dreams. So, Spirit, what advice do you have, other than these, of course, but what other advice do you have for Aquarius at this time, Spirit? Actually, for the advice card, I'm going to pull an Oracle card. And since we're in the theme of the subconscious and dreams, I'm going to pull from the Dream Interpretation deck. So, Spirit, what advice do we have right away? Says money. So this could be, sorry, I really gotta fix that glare. Um, this could be a theme in your subconscious world. This could be something you are, well, this has been a focus with all these pentacle energies. So maybe looking and seeing what your subconscious has to say about your relationship with money. Also, 17 could be significant. The prompts for this card says abundance, tool, energy, poverty, money, and finance, wealth. Yeah, so money is energy. Just everything is energy. Um, so that's just an idea I wanted to point out. And then also just that this process of this mind heart coherence is going to build abundance for you for sure. And anything else, just to kind of take it how it resonates. So I am going to use, I wanted to do this for this reading. Um, so for the last Sagittarius reading, um, I had the star card in the, um, as like the main card in the picture, which is interesting because temperance is like a real theme of this reading. And Sagittarius is temperance, whereas the star is Aquarius. So there could be some kind of connection there. But I'm gonna use these as significators, um, and then see what Spirit has to say for what is providing hope for you at this time, or what you can hold for hope in your world, and then ways that you could build this mind heart coherence. I'm actually gonna reshuffle all of these cards. Use these as significators. All right, Spirit, what does Aquarius have to be hopeful for at this time? What kind of hope do they have coming in? Um, so I would say by being resilient and standing up for what you believe in, you're gonna find harmony in relationships, whether that's romantic or just interpersonal. And then you're gonna release yourself from your self-constraint or self-confinement, um, or self-imposed restraints. You're gonna finally release yourself from that. It could be mental restraints. And then after a period of rest and recuperation, you're going to reach a new level of internal um, emotional contentment. So we got these five cards. That's how I saw that. But so you definitely have much to be hopeful for. A lot of emotional security in your internal world and in your interrelationship world. How can Aquarius continue to build this mind heart coherent spirit? So we got the Five of Swords. I actually saw something recently about this. It's interesting that it came up. Um, but it was kind of not being so like the whole like come at me, bro. I'm like ready for any type of anything you could throw at me. Trying to like step away from that because that is going to cause you to have these sadness feelings that these other people are feeling. If you continue to adopt that kind of energy, um, it's going to lead to disappointment and like feelings of betrayal. Um, so just don't have such a tough exterior. Um, Begin to like let down the walls a little bit, even though you got the Seven of Wands, which is standing up for yourself. I think you need to stand up for yourself too, but at the same time, uh, know when to let your walls down a little bit and be willing to let people in that could potentially cause pain, um, even though like you don't want that, obviously, but you have to be willing to take risks to get the rewards in relationships too. Like if you never put yourself out there to date again, you're never gonna find that relationship. Like sure, it might happen, but the odds of it are just so much less. So. And it's interesting that you got these opposing energies or ideas going in because temperance is all about balancing um, kind of opposing ideas at the same time as much as it is balancing your inside world with your outside world. As within, so without. It's like the whole message of that. I'm just gonna pull a or self-care oracle card. Um, See what kind of self-care practice Aquarius can incorporate at this time as they're beginning to match their actions with their internal values. So we got Nourish Your Temple. 38 or 11 could be significant. It's interesting that this came up too because of what I was talking about in the first part of this. Sorry, my mic cut out at the end. It died. But what I was saying, how it's interesting that that card came up because in the first part of the video, I was talking about just being health conscious and trying to eat healthy to help with recovery and just getting building happiness and just being happier in general. That kind of goes with nourishing your temple. Uh, and then just maybe looking at what helps you grow, what your heart really needs, maybe following the phases of the and just seeing what makes your energy radiate, like finding what it is for you that makes your energy radiate. So connecting with nature can be a theme for you here. So that's what I have for you, Aquarius. I hope you enjoyed this reading, and if you did watch the first part of this video, I hope it brought some value to you, and I hope you guys take care. I love you all so much, and I'll see you next time.